This segment of Farm Talk is brought to you by the National Irrigation Commission, irrigation making the difference in agriculture. So it is our monthly conversation with the National Irrigation Commission. They come to us the first Thursday of every month. And today being the first Thursday of the month of September, we have joining us this morning Rohan Stewart, Director of Engineering and Technical Services with the National Irrigation Commission. Mr. Stewart, good morning. Welcome back to the show. How are you doing, sir?
Hi, Archie. Good morning. Thank you very much for having me. I am very well, thank you.
It is a pleasure to have you on with us because, of course, every time that the NIC comes on, you're talking to us about the different projects that you're putting in place to enhance the life of the farmers and to make it easier for them to get the water they need for their crops. So it's always a pleasure to engage you all in conversation. But I hear that work, and more work. When are you all finding time to rest at the National Irrigation Commission? The number of projects that you have ongoing, I'm just amazed.
Well, I'll tell you, the job continues, and like every other person, every other organization that contributes to nation building, we always have much to do, and we have some diligent staff who ensure that we achieve our objectives for the most part. So
okay,
we put in a lot, and we expect a lot from our staff who step up to the task.
And stepping up to the task they have been. I obviously can't cover everything that you're working on this morning, but we have a few areas that I want to touch on. Now, I understand that works have been done to improve the conveyance infrastructure, specifically the refurbishing of canal and pipelines. So that is where I want to start this morning. Tell us what is being done in this regard and where.
Okay. During the past, 5 years, we have done approximately 8 kilometers of infrastructure upgrade in St. Catherine, in the Rio Cobra system, and also in the St. Dorothy system. In those areas, we have changed out some of our canals to use pipe, still a gravity-fed system, but we use a closed system, which reduce our loss in water and also prevents contamination from runoff and communities. There's also some work done in Clarendon. In Clarendon, we have replaced some aging pipes in a pressurized system in the upper Ramsbury area, and also have done the similar thing in the lower Ramsbury area. We have also done pipe, converting some canals into pipe in the Ramsbury area. So we have done both systems in Clarendon, but in St. Catherine, we have only done canal upgrade.
No, St. Catherine is such an interesting parish because there's a lot of flat land in St. Catherine, and that has made it easier for irrigation systems to be put in. And I would imagine that in both Clarendon and St. Catherine, the farmers have now been coming in to access the services because of these improvements.
Well, yes, we have farmers who have been coming in. The improvements have allowed us to improve our efficiencies as well, because we are now accounting for approximately 71% of the water that we produce, and that is comparable to international standards. So there are improvements that we're seeing from both sides. We would want to encourage, though, that farmers or landowners in the area, we need more persons to take up the task or the opportunities that are there, because we do have extra capacity, and we would want to see that happening where more people coming in. We do have persons coming in now, but we want to see much more.
All right, so you want to see improved use of the service. And so our job is therefore to encourage the farmers to reach out to the National Irrigation Commission, and this they can do through the nearest office that is closer to them. I know that in previous conversations, I was told that there's also a significant amount of work that is taking place to improve the not only the efficiency of the service, but certainly how it is that people are able to access the services. And I know that that kind of work is continuing, so the farmers can reach out to the different offices. And I want to touch on the partnership with the regulator, the Water Resources Authority. What is the role of the Water Resources Authority as against the role of the National Irrigation Commission, and why is the partnership, the synergy that you have, important?
Okay, we are licensed to take water from the different water sources, the rivers and the aquifer through the wells. And the Water Resources Authority is the agency that is responsible for managing this water resource and to ensure that we don't use too much and create other problems. So we do have a very close relationship with the WRA, the Water Resources Authority, and we expect that that will continue. The aquifer recharge system is one of those systems that they were instrumental in getting installed and implemented, and we have partnered with them to be able to contribute to water going into the aquifer through that artificial aquifer recharge system.
Okay. Now, of course, the teacher in me is not allowing you not to explain when you talk about an artificial aquifer. Well, first of all, you have to tell us what an aquifer is, and then talk about the artificial side.
Okay. The aquifer is the storage underground. So just imagine that we have a tank, and this is a big cavity with millions of cubic meters and trillions of gallons of water under the ground throughout Jamaica. So when we drill into the soil, into the rocks, we tap into that, and that is the aquifer. Now, it is charged naturally when rain falls and the water percolates into the soil and gets down there, or where you have sinkholes. But the climate change is affecting us significantly, and we are not getting rain as we used to. So the natural recharge of the system doesn't happen as we expected, and the usage would increase. So if we continue to use at the current rate without doing anything, then that would result in deficiency water coming from the sea into it and contaminating it, and that's the aquifer, and creating a problem. So what we have done in the partnership, or what the artificial recharge is doing, taking water when it is available, like from the Rio Kobe River, treating it and then putting it into boreholes and sinkholes, so that it will go back into the aquifer and recharge it. So that is really what the artificial recharge is.
Okay. All right. So I want to, you spoke about, of course, the Water Resources Authority issuing the licenses for the use of water. And of course, you have to stay within the boundaries of that abstraction that they would have given you permission to do. Are they the authority that also is determining where these water sources are, or does the NIC also do your own research in terms of where the water sources are?
Well, we do our own research, but at the end of the day, we still have to go back to the Water Resources Authority, and they will do their, they have maps and information that is related to the entire Jamaica, so they know what is where water is and how much is there, and then they are able to give the license. So if we see a project, an area that is deficient, and we think that there's a project, we go and we look and we see water, probably it's surface water, probably it might be water in the well from the aquifer. We would go to them and apply, and they would do some balancing research, and then they would tell us, no, you can't get water here, or yes, you can get water. If you can get water, how much water you can get? And then we would now develop the project around that. Because at the end of the day, the project will have to be able to be sustained by whatever water is available. So even if you have a big area of land and you don't have adequate water, then you can't develop the entire area. You'll have to develop just that portion that you'll be able to satisfy with water.
Now, there is a difference between the water that is supplied by the NIC and the water that is supplied, for example, through the National Water Commission. And yet there is also a relationship that you must have with the National Water Commission. Tell me a little bit about that partnership, because that is also critical.
Okay. The partnership we have with the National Water Commission is very critical. We provide raw water, and the water that we provide is not treated. The water from the NWC, National Water Commission, is treated, so they would have had chlorine or some disinfectant to be able to have the water in a way that when we drink it or consume it, it doesn't create problems for us. So we have that relationship where we supply them with water. The Spanish Town treatment facility is one of those areas that we supply them with water. We have partnered with them in the past. In some other projects where we contribute to our expertise and in developing the water sector, the water. I'm not remembering the name of the document now, but we contributed in that document as well. That was probably about 10 years ago, where we would have partnered with them along with other state agencies to develop the document, and now they're using that to implement some of the improvements that they're doing right now.
Excellent. And of course, you're also contributing to the general landscape in terms of what happens in the rural areas with supply of water.
Yes, definitely. The rural areas is where we actually operate, and we would have supplied water in Clarendon, in St. Elizabeth, in St. Catherine, where the Water Commission would take that water, treat it, and supply the rural communities there. Yes.
Okay. And I would imagine that there is a lot of research taking place on the ground to tap into water resources in other areas as well, because I know from time to time people will say, so why you have all of these projects going on in St. Elizabeth and Manchester and Clarendon, but you're not coming to us, you're not in our parish, what is going on? But you are doing the research to see how you can bring some of these services to these other areas, right?
Well, definitely. We are looking at some areas now in Portland, St. Mary, St. Anne. These areas traditionally were rain-fed areas, but because of climate change, now people have to be looking elsewhere. And a lot of these areas, one of the things you will observe as well is that the irrigation infrastructure, for the most part, are on the flat southern plains, the dry areas. Some of these areas that we are going into, they are on the Latin Hills, and so they are not generally, or were not at the time, feasible for irrigation. But now the technology has advanced, and we are able to use things like the drip irrigation to be able to go on hillsides and so on. We will be able to support.
All right. And I'm going to pick up on that when we come back from the break. First of all, how does this whole matter of climate change relate to the kind of work that you're having to do at the National Irrigation Commission? And we'll take a look at some of what you say is being rolled out to address those climate change issues. All right. So we're inside our monthly feature with the National Irrigation Commission, making the difference in agriculture. And of course, that is irrigation, making the difference in agriculture. That's the tagline for the National Irrigation Commission. My guest this morning is Rohan Stewart, Director of Engineering and Technical Services. We have been talking about quite a bit the refurbishing of canals and pipelines, their partnership with the regulatory body, the Water Resources Authority, and the WRA. They issue licenses to use water, and of course the National Irrigation Commission, they're having to follow to a T what it is that their licenses allow them to do. But Mr. Stewart has also been talking about not only the partnership with the Water Resources Authority, but the National Water Commission and the Rural Water Program, because all of that ties into how it is that we manage generally our water resources. Now, the other issue that he raised just ahead of the break is climate change. And Mr. Stewart, this is very critical. We tend to, because perhaps we have always referred to this island of ours as the land of wood and water, some people just have the sense that we will never have issues with water. But the last decade has proven to us, has showed us in no uncertain that we have to carefully manage our water resources because they have been depleting. And so what we took for granted, that we would always have unlimited supplies of water, we have to be very careful how we even think about that these days. In what ways would you say climate change has impacted our water resources?
Okay, very good question, Althea. The climate change has impacted the water resources of the country, and I would say the planet. In past times, we would be almost certain that come May, June, we would have a significant amount of rain. September, October. And we have seen that trend for the past decade, as you mentioned, is changing, has changed, where the certainty of rain during those periods are not there, and the consistency, the intensity of the rain is not there as well. So we have seen droughts in successive years in the past, I would say 5-7 years. And that is an indication to us that we cannot or should not continue to do what we're doing, or else we are going to have significant, greater problems in the future. So we are advocating that the use of water must be measured. It must be used in a way that will allow us to have for future generations. So the technology that is required, where people don't just use water because that is how it was always done in the past, but use it to ensure that you get your optimum return from every cubic meter of water that you buy from the Commission. Those are the things that we are encouraging persons. So things like using the most advanced methods of irrigation, things like using measurements to determine when to irrigate, and don't just irrigate because the water is available, or don't just irrigate because the Commission has supplied you with water, but use it when the soil needs it and when the plant can use it. Things like those. I would also suggest that we need to look at drought-tolerant plants, so that those plants don't use as much water to produce the same amount of produce as we are using now. And that, when the time comes, when the conditions are not ideal, those plants will still be able to produce and be able to provide for those farmers. So those are some of the things that we are encouraging the persons or customers to do. Use the water efficiently. The environment will benefit because it means that we will not be taking so much water and not using it in a way. Somebody might argue that, the wildlife, the nature needs it. So when you don't use it, it goes into streams and gullies. But even if we use the water efficiently, there is enough to be able to do that, because we would not have to take so much from the river to be able to do what we want to do. So those are some of the things that we are doing right now to be able to encourage our customers to partner with us to ensure that the environment is protected and is not degraded.
Okay. I would imagine that you take then very seriously the part of your nomenclature, your name that speaks to irrigation. Is it to be understood that you have, as part of your technical team, individuals who are able to provide, even if you're not providing the irrigation systems because you provide the water, certainly advising the farmers how it is that they go about, one, setting up the irrigation systems and using them efficiently?
Well, we're always about partnership. We don't have the unit in-house now that does the on-farm part of the irrigation work, but rather is our partner. And we are always partnering with them to be able to bring that aspect of it together. We are also utilizing these newer projects that we are doing. There are many components. It's not just the infrastructure component, but there are also the social and component where persons are taught in good farm practices. So they are taught things about how to use the water, things about how to manage their businesses. So those aspects of the complete operation or the enterprise is included in these newer projects. So partnerships we use, and also the newer projects, we have those components that will be able to get the farmers up to speed so that when the time comes for them to produce, they would have the skills and the techniques that they require to be able to do what they do.
Okay. I wanted to, before you leave us this morning, just quickly remind us of the major projects that you have you're working on now, and where these projects are taking place.
Okay. The major project that we have is the Essex Valley project, and that is in the Essex Valley area of St. Elizabeth, South Manchester, South St. Elizabeth. Sorry. The other project is the SPAD, the Southern Plains Agricultural Development Project, and that is in Clarendon, the Parnassus area, and St. Catherine in the Bridgepen Amityard area. So those are the two major projects that we have going on now. We expect that come 2 years' time, 2023, these projects would be fully completed and would be operational.
All right, and I'm certain that we'll hear more about them going forward as we have more conversation with the National Irrigation Commission. Also, very importantly, how can farmers access the services of the National Irrigation Commission?
Okay, we have all the different social media, Facebook at NIC LTD Jamaica, NIC LTD Jamaica, on Twitter at NIC Jamaica, Instagram at NIC Jamaica LTD, and YouTube at NIC Jamaica. Telephone, the good old telephone, 876-977-6727, or you can go on the website, www.nicjamaica.com. So there are many opportunities for interaction, and you can just visit any of our offices. We have offices in Yallas, in St. Thomas, in Kingston, in St. Catherine, in the Rokobre Spanish Town, at St. Dorothy, in Clarendon. We have an office at Osborne Store, and we have offices in Rocco, in Trelawney, in Onslow, St. Elizabeth, and also in New Forest, Manchester. So we have offices all over the place, and you can visit our offices. The opening hours, Monday to Thursday, 8:30 to 4:30, and on Fridays, 8 to 4 o'clock.
All right, Mr. Stewart, thank you so very much. We have learned quite a bit from this conversation with you this morning, and we just want to encourage you all to keep up the good work and stay safe out there.
Thank you very much, Althea, and to your listeners and our customers, we ask you to follow the protocols to ensure that we all remain safe, and we look forward to partnering with you so that you, our customers, can become successful entrepreneur in your businesses.
All right, blessings. Thank you very much. Rohan Stewart there, Director of Engineering and Technical Services. And the segment was brought to you by the National Irrigation Commission. Irrigation, making the difference in agriculture.